In this edition, the number of hungry people is on the rise across the globe for the first time in a decade. This, according to a new United Nations report. The report cites rising conflicts and climate change as major drivers leading to this crisis. Here's more on that.
A United Nations global assessment of food security and nutrition has found that hunger is on the rise around the world and is posing a serious challenge to goals set by United Nations to eradicate poverty by 2030. According to the report, there are 815 million chronically undernourished people, which is 38 million more than previous year. It currently affects around 11% of the world population. The report says India is home to 23% of the world's hungry, with over 191 million people without food. 51% of Indian women suffer from anemia. The report defines stunting as a result of long-term nutritional deprivation, which may affect mental development, school performance and intellectual capacity. Child stunting in India is at 38.4% compared with 14.7% in Sri Lanka and 9.4% in China. According to the report, some of the highest proportion of food insecure and malnourished children in the world are now concentrated in conflict zones. Conflict areas are also affected by climate-related problems such as droughts and floods, linked in part to the El Nino phenomenon. Jessica Taneja, WION.
And let's go straight across to Jessica Taneja, who filed that report for us, is now joining us live on the broadcast for more on that. Jessica, a worrying time for not just India, but many countries across the world, as those figures indicate. What exactly have been the contributors to this hunger crisis, apart from climate change and a rise in conflicts?
Well, absolutely, Molly. And if you see the way India figures, it figures that 51% or more women, in fact, suffer from anemia, and 27% is India alone contributing to the world hungry. So this is, in fact, quite problematic. And you see the report highlights the contributing factor remain to be that India has a lot of undernourished, 5-year-old children who do not survive beyond a certain age because of impoverishment, because of lack of adequate resources, food and proper security. So that exactly also compiles to be one of the problems. But what we're not looking at, and what the report does highlight, is that food storage is also another problem in the country, which is not being taken care of the way it should be.
Yes.
So that in itself is also becoming a big problem.
And all of these, Jessica, are proving to be huge obstacles to the United Nations plan or aim to eradicate poverty by the year 2030.
Absolutely, Molly. That's exactly what the report also points out. It says that by 2030, the United Nations had a plan to eradicate hunger and poverty completely. But they say that to reach this goal, it looks like a difficult time ahead because of the way we are going. Remember, we, in fact, are 38. We now have 38 more million people who are hungry in the world from last year. So that is another significant rise in the number of people who are hungry and without food. And given the kind of circumstances the world is in right now, we have calamities, we have conflict zones everywhere, and children suffering, aid workers unable to reach. So these kind of catastrophes and situations where natural disasters or others like El Nino phenomenon also takes place, many people are left without food, not just children, but also adults. So, the world together has to contribute in order to eradicate hunger, at least by 2030, which is what the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals also highlights, but they point out in that report it's significantly difficult because of not having, a lot of people contributing, not storing food, wasting food, in fact, and not enough produced for the undernourished and the malnourished.